Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you're new here. Today we have the first full or new moon of 2023. We have a full moon in Cancer. So for today's tarot card reading, I will be reading the cards in that way in terms of releasing things, letting things go. Full moons are about cycles ending. They're about a cycle of completion from the last moon cycle. And so kind of how can we release things and let things go and kind of get into that energy of, letting go so that more can come in so we can keep going and growing on the path that we're on. I have 3 groups for you today. You can go ahead and pick by the card you can see, by the number, by the sound of my voice, group 1, group 2, or group 3. When you're ready, all the timestamps are below, and I will see you with the reading that you chose. Hi everyone, welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 1. So you'll pick the card Higher Perspective. So this card is just a reminder that sometimes when we're in it, when we're kind of like the pieces aren't coming together, or we're going through an emotionally hard time, or our faith muscle is being really tested, or anything like that, whenever anything like that is going on, sometimes it's hard for us to pull back and remember that there is a higher perspective. There is something going on besides just like us feeling bad right now in this moment. And so this card is just a reminder that there is a higher perspective here, okay? And again, it's not to romanticize or be like, oh, I'm so glad this thing I don't want to have happening to me is happening to me, right? We're not talking about like spiritual bypassing or romanticizing hard times or things that don't feel good, okay? But this card is just a reminder that it is important for us to remember that there is this one little chapter, this one little part of our lives. Even if it doesn't feel that little in the moment, it is just one section of our lives. So it's not your whole life. It's not everything. It's not forever, right? Things always end. The tide always turns. The clouds always lift. The sun always comes out tomorrow, even if it's a lot of tomorrows from now, right? But this is just a reminder that there is something going on here for your highest good. And that doesn't mean that, again, you like the situation or the circumstance or anything like that. It could just mean that maybe you learn to just be a little more like kind and compassionate and loving to yourself, right? A lot of times that's a lesson we have to learn, is like to stop being so hard on ourselves, to stop taking these things out on people we love and care about, right? So the higher perspective here, it's like, it's really easy for us as humans to really zone in and be like, this is what's going on. This is the only thing that's happening. This is whatever, especially when we're emotionally charged and like really caught in that cycle. But taking a step back and remembering there is a higher perspective here. There is something going on here that's beyond my own understanding, beyond my own immediate thing I need to feel peace, to feel relief, right? So if you want to think about this with the full moon in terms of releasing things and letting things go, and especially in Cancer, crybaby Cancer, some of this emotional energy, right? You can really think about like, if I were God or my higher power or the angels or, whoever, whatever feels good to you, talking to me, how could I communicate to myself like something's like what's going on right now? What soothing do I need to hear? Like, is it that there is a plan for me? Is it that you're going to get through this? You're going to make it through, that this is just temporary? I mean, and just try to like use that language to talk to yourself. So kind of releasing some of this like really, you know, frustrated, pent up energy, right? And instead calling in this higher perspective, this understanding that things do change. Nothing is forever. These things, they change. And just remembering, like, again, it's really, really easy to, and I totally get it, right? It's really easy when we're in it to get really lost in this turbulent energy of just like, I'm never going to get out. I'm never going to figure this out. It's never going to change. It's never whatever. But this is a reminder that there is a higher perspective here. There is something else going on beyond just this immediate moment. There is something going on beyond just right now. And if you can tap into that and give yourself some of that grace and compassion and understanding, can help you get through some of what you're going through right now. And again, not in a way that's like spiritually bypassing or invalidating or whatever, but just a reminder that like there is something going on here beyond just me. This is where I am right now with everything, right? It's just me in this moment. Okay, I'm going to look at your tarot cards. I'm going to look at your oracle cards. Okay, so we have the Empress. Open your reading. Love her. The Four of Wands and the Emperor. Wow, look at that. On the other side, then we have Ace of Wands, Four of Cups, and Eight of Wands. Okay, so I feel like group 1, whatever is going on for you right now, again, this is like the most annoying thing ever to hear when you're in it, but this is part of having faith, right? Like, our faith muscle, just like our physical muscles. We can continue to work that our whole lives. We can continue to train our faith muscle. We can continue to have new challenges that push us to grow our faith muscles, and, increase our stamina, increase our longevity with those. And so I feel like with this situation, group one, whatever's going on for you, there's this energy here of the Empress, the Emperor, and the Four of Wands right in the middle. So that's a really beautiful layout there. Okay, so regardless of your gender, all of us have masculine and feminine energy inside of us. It is not pushed out, and we don't embody one over the other. Okay, I mean, maybe you do, but you don't need someone else to fulfill your be the complement to your masculine and feminine energy. Okay, it's something within you. And so for me, when these two cards come out, the Empress and the Emperor, that is really talking about finding this balance within our own selves around our own masculine and feminine energy. So masculine energy is really, again, nothing to do with gender, okay, or how you present. It's just masculine energy. We all have it. This is the energy around like, I'm going to get something done. I'm going to take action. I'm going to set a boundary. I'm going to it's this really like movement energy. And then feminine energy is more of like, I'm going to be still. I'm going to be reflective. I'm going to, just think about what's going on. I'm going to, it's little more, it's like yin and yang energy too, right? Yin is feminine, yang is masculine. And so all that to say, I feel like this thing that's going on for you guys in group one, whatever it is, where you need the higher perspective, you need this understanding, this reminder that you need that to balance out these things in our lives, right? Sometimes we don't even realize how hard we've been, especially in this capitalistic society we live in, how hard we've been pushing ourselves to go, 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 go. And then we don't rest until we're like, oh, my body's having a breakdown. I need to rest now, right? Or like, well, I can control this thing so hard, like overly masculine energy instead of letting it come to us. Or on the other end, we can embody too much feminine energy where we're like too passive and we're like, I don't have to do anything. Like I can just sit in my room and make this list of what I want to have happen and I don't have to do anything on my own. That's also not helpful. Okay. So a lot of times when we're going through these things that like push and pull us to get to the other side, it's so we can refine that balance within ourselves. And so we can find that center within ourselves that is connected to like balancing out our energies. And there are times in our lives where we do need to be more in our receiving energy. And there are times in our lives where we do need to be a little bit more like going out and making things happen. And it's a busier season in our lives. And so I feel like the main message I'm getting for you guys in group one is like all of these things are happening so that you can find that recentering in yourself. And for us, when it's time for us to start a new chapter, a new layer in our lives, a new situation, right? That requires a new version of ourselves. And so that requires a recentering, a rebalancing, a clarity within ourselves, just getting awareness around like, okay, who do I need to be? What does that need to look like? Right? All of that. And then we have, because right in the middle of this, we have the Four of Wands. So this to me is really about, this is like the gateway card. It's about getting to the next level. It's about like, okay, if I'm, gonna grow and outgrowth is growing, right? If I'm gonna grow into this next layer of my life, if I'm gonna grow into these things that are happening, if I'm gonna grow into all of this, right, then it's really important that we become this part of ourselves. And there's so many things, like for those of us in the northern hemisphere, we are in winter right now, and there's so many things that happen in the winter where it looks like nothing's happening, but like the seeds are they're down in there and they're nourished and they're resting and they're whatever, right? There's that preparation cycle before it can go and expand and be ready for the spring season and the summer season. So I think this is really saying group one to remember that sometimes, we can get frustrated or go through some of these things where physical reality just seems like it's so against us that it's like time for us to turn inward and be like, okay, how am I tending to like my own inner self? What am I doing for myself inside of me that shows that I'm doing, this, and this thing? So how can I do that for myself? How can I show up for myself? How can I, use these two energies to find more balance within myself so that I can move forward, like, and be, go through this inner transformation so that when my external world is ready to change, I'm a match for that and I'm ready to be there and I'm ready to do that. The things you learn while you're waiting are so necessary for you to be a match for the things that you're trying to grow into with that. Because then we have the Ace of Wands. So this I feel like is, this is always new energy. This is rebirth energy. This is like, okay, we're ready for the next thing. We're ready to get going. We're ready to make it happen. So I feel like once you get through this thing, there is a point to this, right? There's no point. I mean, you can find the point, right? Sometimes the point is there is no point, okay? Like not reading into something too much, but sometimes, the saying, suffering ends when meaning begins, right? So if this is a really hard time and it's just for you to learn to be kinder to yourself, we don't learn that enough. We don't learn that enough times when we go through a hard time, we think like, well, this shouldn't be happening and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, well, can I be kind to myself even though this is happening? How can I listen to myself and soothe myself and give myself some grace and care and compassion while this is happening, right? So this Ace of Wands is about like this renewed energy, this renewed passion, renewed birth, about movement, right? All that. And so I feel like that's what I was talking about, when the seed is planted, we can't see what's happening all the time, but we have to have trust and faith that, again, taking this higher perspective and pulling back, that something is happening, even if we can't see it right now or see it perfectly or whatever. So if we have faith that the Ace of Wands, something is happening, then this Four of Cups here is about, you have to you have to get over yourself, okay? And I say that very lovingly, right? But this Four of Cups is like we're trying to receive, there's trying to be a gift, there's trying to be something happening, but we're just, no, I don't want it. Like we're very stubborn, very focused on ourselves, very like, I don't want this if it's not this exact way, or I'm still mad about this thing, so I can't receive this thing. And like, again, take all the time you need. You don't need to boycott yourself or pretend like you're not feeling a certain way or something isn't happening, right? Whatever's going on, right? But this Four of Cups is a reminder that there are certain things going on that, there's so many blessings that we don't let ourselves see because we're so focused on all these other things over here. And again, you can focus on having gratitude in your blessings without spiritually bypassing how you're feeling. And then we have the Eight of Wands, which is about a lot of movement. So again, I feel like, the arrow metaphor, right? You get pulled back so you can go forward. So I feel like a lot of what you're going through group one is not in vain and is just a reminder that as you do these things, you continue to move through them and all of that, right? This is going to continue to add up and be important to you. And all this internal work you do is like, it can seem like nothing's happening, but you're like rewriting a lot of things, you're clearing the way, you're creating some new space for some of this external stuff to come forward for you. So this Eight of Wands is about a lot of quick movement, a lot of things coming in, things changing. It's like sometimes we can be like, okay, I want this thing, where is it, right? And then when it does happen, we're like, oh my God, where did that come from? That was so, it just came out of nowhere. It's so crazy, right? So the Eight of Wands is about movement and things happening for you. And just remembering that, just because it's not our timeline doesn't mean never, doesn't mean it's not happening, doesn't mean it's not coming together. It's just sometimes we can't see everything and then we get really upset when we can't, even though, it's not up to us to decide when things happen. Okay, I'm going to look at your oracle cards. Okay, so this first card we have is create. So I feel like even if you're not a creative person, one way to really work with a lot of this energy or when we feel overwhelmed is like to create something. So that could be, maybe you trim your garden like this person in this picture, okay? But it also could be that you journal, you paint, you make music, you do like whatever creative, you make a collage, whatever is creative to you that is like an expression of yourself, even if you don't feel like you're the best at it ever, right? It's a way for you to kind of tap into that energy and move it and do something with it. It could be whatever it is. I don't want to give examples, what feels creative to you, but I feel like this is a way to move some of that energy so you're not like part of, again, it's important to value the journey just as much as you value the destination. And so part of how we can value the journey is by remembering that like I can create something, or I have this idea of this thing I want to see in the world, or it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be between you and God, and like that's just what you keep. But creating is about remembering that you do have a voice and hearing yourself when it feels like all these other things like you can't hear yourself or work through or anything like that. Okay, and then we have now is the time. This is a very beautiful key image on here. So a key is a symbol, but also a reminder like now is the time that like we only have now, right? God's timeline is only available in the present. It's not in the past or the future. Like, we can plan for the future, right? But all we have is right now. So now is the time, as a reminder that there are things going on for us that are important, and that, the key is to being present, and also remembering that, now is the time. Part of the higher perspective is just like, your life is only right now, like, there are seasons. Again, thanks to lovely capitalism, we think that we have to have this feel good, like, tube pumped into our head of feeling good all the time, 24/7 for our whole lives, which is not true at all, right? But this is just about remembering that now is the time, is a reminder that your life is right now. This is what's going on right now, and how can I show up to my life right now? Again, doesn't mean you love it, doesn't mean you're jumping for joy, doesn't mean, but it's like, God placed you where God placed you. So what are you going to do with that while you're here? Again, doesn't mean you love it, doesn't mean you're so excited, doesn't mean you're like, yes, please continue this thing I don't like in my life, right? But it's like, if I'm here, what can I do with that? And what can I do to be part of the present, and, have that higher perspective for myself here with what's going on. Okay, and then finally we have, I accept the gifts I've been given as a high service to the world. So I feel like this is beautiful, because remember I was talking about like that, the seed metaphor, right? But you can also understand like that the gifts you've been given as a high service to the world also means that, like, we have to be emotionally mature enough to use our gifts, and we have to be a match to be able to use them. And so sometimes, we can have this idea, but we need to have some of like the spiritual, the inside things changing for us to be able to feel like, I really can use my gifts. So when you accept your gifts, that means you also have to accept like the preparation you have to go through to be able to use them, to get clear about, this is what I can offer, this is what feels good to me, this is whatever. Because if we really believe that we are here to be of service, all of us have different gifts, all of us are here to like be a balance to each other of what our specific gifts look like versus someone else. And so, your gifts are a high service to the world. That means trusting your gifts, and also trusting, like, the initiation path to get there, and trusting what it takes to get there, and trusting what you have to go through to get there. And again, not saying you like it, but just knowing it is part of the process, and it is part of, like, again, zooming out for that higher perspective, and zooming out for like, okay, this is just one chapter of my life, one thing in my life. I can get through it. Things can change. I can change, and I'm on my way. Okay, I'm going to close with one affirmation card for you guys. Group 1. Look at this. I love life, and life loves me. Okay, so I think this is really beautiful. Obviously, it's a beautiful affirmation, and it's just a reminder that, like, God is gentle and kind, and when we go through hardship in life is part of life, right? You are not failing at spirituality or a person if you go through hard things or unideal things, right? So I love life, and life loves me is just a reminder that, God knows how to organize this universe. God knows how to self-correct this universe. God knows how to make a plan and deliver things to us in ways we couldn't imagine. So I love life, and life loves me is just a reminder that, you can be open to the small, if they're small for now, these parts of your life that feel connected and clear and good to you, without, again, negating some of these harder things you're going through. So I love life, and life loves me. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's for everyone who picked group number 2. So you all picked the card Ancestors. So I feel like this, of course, is a message that, if you have loved ones who you knew in this life who have passed on to the other side, they are there for you. You can connect with them. You can feel their energy. You can feel their presence. You have all that support from all the generations behind you that it took for you to get here. And everyone who's on the other side, just is there for you to connect and deal with. And they're all part of this, like, beautiful ecosystem of the earth. But the bigger message I'm hearing for you guys who pick group number 2 is, we all have ancestors. And so we all have these generational patterns that have happened, or things that have gone in our family lineages, or things like that. And so this is a reminder, if you're being a little bit hard on yourself, or feeling like, oh, why can't I just fix this? Or why is this thing like this? Or why am I like this? This is a reminder that we all came from somewhere, and these patterns didn't just come out of nowhere. And there's so many things going on that contribute to ourselves, to how we see ourselves, to how we show up in the world, to how, all of that stuff. And so this ancestors card is a reminder that like the cycle didn't start with you. And these patterns and these ways of dealing with things and all that, it didn't start with you. You weren't the first person to, I mean, maybe you are with certain things, but just remember that there's like a many lifetimes of history behind you, as a person, and showing up with that. So when it can feel really easy to put the blame on ourselves, it's like, I did this thing and this is all my fault and all of this and blah blah. But just a reminder that it didn't start with us, and there's so many things that we inherit, not even just traumatic things, right? But there's so many things we inherit, and it's things that we didn't come out of nowhere. We're not this like vacuum existing by ourselves, right? We came from this whole lineage of everything. And so all of those things together are contributing to how we see ourselves and who we are and all of that. So with this ancestors card, again, just a reminder to, if you're being a little hard on yourself, group 2, of like, why aren't I further in life, or why isn't this like this, or why isn't, whatever, just a reminder that there's a lot of factors that have gone into creating you into the being you are, and all these things that are going on. And there can be, something on the other side of this, and remembering like this lineage you've come from, and then like where it's going to go, right? There's going to be, even if you yourself do not have children, you can leave a legacy that contributes to the people who will inherit the earth in the future. So you don't just have to focus on, your own blood family. You can also get clear about like, okay, well, what am I contributing to the world and offering that, give some of that, and we weave our legacy into the lives we touch and how we show up into this world, and through our actions, or how we do things, more than like what we're doing specifically. Obviously what we're doing is important. It's good to want to do something you like, but how we do things is really just as important as what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to look at your tarot cards. I'm going to look at your oracle cards after that. Okay, so 6 of Swords to open your reading. 6 of Pentacles, 2 sixes, Death, 9 of Wands, 4 of Pentacles, and 8 of Pentacles. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm hearing is like, it's okay to go through a hard time. I group 2, I'm getting like a lot of resistance. Like, you need to accept help in your life, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, whatever area that means for you, whatever thing that looks like for you, or even just accepting help around like not blaming yourself for being solely responsible for every single thing in your life, right? Obviously, we have to be accountable for ourselves and we have to take responsibility for ourselves, but there's so many things that have happened in our lives that, like I was saying before, we are not solely responsible for, right? We're the result of a lot of things where, everybody comes from somewhere, everybody has something going on, that again, we're just like another blip along this really, really long line of people coming into this world. So what I'm hearing, the first thing is, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to feel like some connection to something you have to leave behind. It could be like a thought process, an ideal, or if you physically need to move or let go of something, or it could be like letting go of some of these ideas of, how am I going to get there? How am I going to do this? Or I wish it was like this, or if only this was like this, if only this thing was like this, if only, whatever. Right. And then accepting help with that, so that could be accepting help around like, this card, of course, is about like financially, but it could be accepting help around like, talking to someone about that, processing it, but just a lot of, when we decide our lives, when it's time for us to be different and we want to make a change in our lives, when we decide it's time for that, there is a lot of mourning and grief that can come up. It can be from letting something go, even if it wasn't the best thing for us, right? But just any type of movement is really, and change is hard for us as humans, even if it's change we want. And that's like, the paradox of being human, right? And so it's important for us to really just honor that and just remember that, it's okay to need help or support, emotional care. If we need to rest, if we need a little bit of extra like love and care from ourselves, from God, from our friends, from our loved ones, right? with all of this, as you're going through whatever you're letting go, whatever pattern you're changing, whatever thing you're interrupting and releasing. It's okay if it feels emotional, and it's okay if you need help and support at this time. Because the only way to move forward is to let something die, right? It's the only way. Like, it's really, it's this life, death, life cycle. And it's really this energy of just feeling like it's okay for us to, feel upset when something happens. It's okay for us to feel like, wow, I don't want this to be happening, or, like clinging to that, right? Things, even if it's something we want to release, there's just something about being a human that when it's time for that to happen, it does feel challenging. No judgment. Okay, that's life. That's part of the human condition. It does feel challenging. It does feel hard to let things go. It does feel hard to release things and move them to the next layer and the next level. But when death comes in, you have to trust that, like, anything that gets taken away from us, or if a cycle comes to an end, or if a door gets closed, or it's just time for something to be over, we have to have faith that, like, that is not punishment, and that, we can really cling because we're like, oh no, this is what I know, and this is what feels good to me, and this is, like, whatever, like, no judgment. Okay, but when that happens, it's time for us to realize, like, death comes to clean things out. Obviously this isn't physical death, but it can, things that have ended and it's time to move on to the next thing, it comes so that there can be space for something new to happen, right? We think we get so caught up in the death part that we forget that what happens with death is there's also life on the other side. There's always something new happening. There's something else coming to be in a way that we can forget and not really remember. And so I think what we have with these two cards, then the Nine of Wands and the Four of Pentacles, this reminds me of that saying, or the quote by, I don't remember who it's by, so apologies, but like, you have to tell your mind not to suffer, or you have to tell your mind that, like, the thought of suffering is worse than the actual suffering, right? So our fear of change is worse than the actual change. Our fear of what's going to happen, what am I going to do, what am I going to, whatever, right? That's worse than just simply letting something go and releasing it. And so this is a reminder that it's okay to look at it in the eye. It's okay to trust yourself. This is kind of like feeling a little trepid and feeling a little like, can I do this? Can this happen? And then this card is, the other side of that, like, no way, I'm not giving my stuff up. I'm not doing this. I don't want to let go. I don't want to do any of this. I'm not, no way, count me out. So this is finding that balance in there, and just remembering that it's okay to feel nervous about letting something go. It's okay to feel unsure about what's going to come next and what's going to happen next. But just remembering that, again, these things are not for your punishment. They are to help you. And, the longer you block your heart, we all need to lick our wounds and take some time to go inward and all of that, but the longer you block your heart from these things, the longer it's going to be harder for you to connect to that and to get clear about the ways that you can grow and change and move forward. And sometimes, what the ego can do is say, well, I'll prefer this thing over here because it sucks, but at least it's familiar. At least I know what it is. At least I know what's going on. At least I, whatever. Which again can seem like in the moment it's helping us, but long term does not. It's just going to hurt us, and it's just going to continue to contribute to us not feeling the best about ourselves. So really looking at, okay, well, what am I afraid of? Exploring those fears. What am I afraid of? What am I afraid is going to happen? What, kind of looking in that and being like, okay, I can trust myself as a fully resourced adult. I have earned my right to have faith in myself, and this is how I'm going to move forward, right? So just, again, letting up some of that energy, not being so closed off with that. Because then we have closing your reading, beautiful Eight of Pentacles. So this is about, putting the work in. This is about showing up for yourself. And what I'm hearing with this is like, look at all you've done. Look at all you've done. Look at all you've done. Look at what you've done to earn the right to have faith in yourself. So earn the right to trust yourself. So earn the right to, again, just have faith in yourself. And you've put the work in, you've shown up for yourself. You've, and not just you have this whole lineage of people who have done the best with what they've could. It doesn't mean, we want to repeat their actions or act like them or anything, but this is a reminder that this Eight of Pentacles, we have to be accountable for ourselves and for our lives. And part of what that looks like is showing up and putting the work in and honoring what we need to do to be accountable in that way, with all of that. And again, just remembering, like, change is difficult. Okay, we can get it's so simple, but as humans, we can get so caught up in like, I want my life to be different, and I want to be like this, and I want this, and I want that, right? And when it's something we're consciously trying to change about ourselves, it's difficult to rewrite patterns. It's difficult to choose something new. It's difficult to say no to something that could be so easy with that, right? So it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means that, we have to be pushed and challenged, and actually on the soul level, growing in those ways, challenging in a healthy way is good for us and feels good and life affirming for us. Okay, I'm going to look at your oracle cards. Okay, so I feel like this is really beautiful. Believe in yourself. Again, very simple, but what I'm hearing for you guys group 2 is KISS, keep it simple, stupid, or keep it super simple if you want to be nice. Okay, keep it super simple. Believe in yourself. This is just, it can be something as simple as saying like, okay, I can do this one day at a time. I'm working on changing the pattern. I give myself grace. I know I deserve patience with myself. I know I can get through this. I know this can happen. I know, whatever, but believe in yourself is a reminder that it can be, one of the first things we do when we're, again, closed off and fearful and like, I can't do this, no way, right? Just that very simple thing of like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do this one little thing right now. I can do this one little part. I can do this one little thing. So believe in yourself is just a reminder that, it can be very simple as like talk, just one little pep talk. Like you say, I don't have to conquer the world today, but I can do this one little thing, right? I can believe in myself in this one little way today, and that's going to be enough for me, and that's okay. So can you believe in yourself? Can you show up in a way that is kind and loving to yourself with all of that? And part of what that takes is saying no. Okay, so you can say no to, looks like a proposal here, if that's your life story and resonating for you, but it's important to, like I was talking about with this death card here, when we want something new to come in, we have to let old things go. And so if we want to be able to say yes to the right thing when it shows up, when it's time for us to change, when it's time for us to do something else, we have to say no to the things we don't want so that there is space for us to have the things that we do want. Again, it's very simple, but as humans, we can forget this and make it overcomplicated, and we forget that we have to do that part of this as we're moving forward. So say no as a reminder that it is important for us to say no. You have to know what things are your non-negotiables so that when the things that are not for you show up, you can say no to them instead of feeling like, oh, I have to say yes to this, or like, is this what I want? I'm not really sure, right? So say no as a reminder that no is a complete sentence. No is helpful. No gets us out of these ruts of things, right? So say no is, again, a way for us to really tap into our own boundaries and our own clarity. And going back to the ancestors card, if you're the first person in your family to say no, to break the cycle, to do something differently, doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. In fact, it means you're doing a really good job, and you're brave enough to say no and try to find and do something different. Okay, and then lastly, we have my kindness is a gift I bestow upon the world. So again, this is what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, it's so important that like how we're doing something is just as important as what we're doing. And so if you can move through this and if you just learn to be kinder to yourself through this whole process, that changes things, right? All of us have had a really hard day or a really hard stretch of time or whatever. And when someone offers of kindness, it's like, we can like jolt back and be like, oh my God, what? Because we're so not used to that. So just remembering that like being kind, especially to ourselves, and kind and nice are different. Okay. Nice is like people pleasing and not the best and whatever, like not super genuine, right? But my kindness is a reminder that like I can choose to be kind. I can choose to say yes. I can choose to say no. And I don't have to do it maliciously or in a mean way, right? But owning our power and owning what we want and saying no. Kindness is a gift I bestow upon the world. That doesn't mean that, again, we like have no boundaries for ourselves or we ignore ourselves. It just means that the way we do things is like in a clean conscience, a clear way, a way to be kind, a way to not, negate ourselves, but also not negate others. But again, we can have boundaries, but do it kindly. We can say no, do it kindly, and trust that like, being accountable for ourselves, we don't have to like beat ourselves up if we make a mistake. We can just be kind and be like, okay, that's what I did. Here's what I'm going to do differently now. The end, moving forward. Okay. I'm going to close your reading group 2 with one affirmation card. I'm worthy of my own love. Very beautiful. So exactly what I was talking about, this whole reading for you guys, in group 2 is like, you deserve the same patience, care, and understanding that I'm sure you offer to so many people. So I'm worthy of my own love is a reminder that it's okay for you to say no, because you deserve to have limits just like other people has limits. It's okay for you to have boundaries because other people have boundaries. It's okay for you to honor and listen, and again, give yourself that same attention, care, patience, grace, that you would like to offer someone else, or that you would like to be offered yourself, or that we know God offers us that we, forget very conveniently all the time. So I'm worthy of my own love. And just think about that, like, what are some things you want to say to yourself? What are some things that could feel soothing to you? Like, well, again, we were talking about like, believe in yourself. Like, I can do it one thing at a time. I trust myself. This is happening for me in a way I can't see right now, right? So I'm worthy of my own love. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If I brought any more information about me, all of that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's for everyone who picked group number 3. So you all picked the card Play. This is obviously a very clear message for you to play, to lighten up, especially we're at the beginning of the new year, the Gregorian New Year, where there's all these messages of like, new year, new me, and what are my resolutions, and what am I doing, and blah, 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 right? And so play can be a reminder that it's okay to lighten up. It's okay to have some lightness in your life. It's okay to have some joy in your life. It's okay to, do these like boring adult things that we all have to do, like in a playful, fun way. We're not really encouraged to enjoy our lives unless it's in this like way that sometimes is not actually long-term enjoyable, right? But if you can be silly, if you can be creative, if you can be fun, if you can be playful, all of those things together add up and make a difference. So this play energy is really about owning that, and just really, again, being playful. And there's 2 dolphins on here, so I feel like that also can happen, and like bringing more play into your relationships, romantic or platonic. And just saying, how can we have more fun? How can we be more free? How can we do these certain things? And just remembering, again, play is not about like punishing yourself. It's not about like, being like feeling like, oh, I don't want to do this, right? It's just about being silly. It's about creating yourself. It's about laughing. It's about joyfulness, right? We can get so bogged down with everything. And like, again, especially this time of year, like, here's my resolution, and here's what I'm going to do, and here's what's going to happen. And it's like, can you just like laugh and have fun and lighten up? And life is a joke, one way or the other, right? Life is a joke. So just remembering, like, can we do some of these like more serious things we have to do while we're here with a little more playfulness and ease and grace and joy, with all of that. And again, it doesn't negate like any hard, deep feelings we have, but sometimes we think like, oh, who am I to like laugh when this thing is going on? Who am I to like play or be joyful when this thing is going on? It's like, okay, there's a time and a place to be respectful, but it's also like, the human heart continues to exist through all these things, and part of that is being joyful and lighthearted and free, and fun, and all of that. So play energy for you guys, group 3. So just thinking, where can I offer myself more play energy? Where can I offer myself some lightheartedness, going on with that? Okay, I'm going to look at your tarot cards first, then we'll look at your oracle cards. The Chariot. I love this card coming out front and center. Knight of Pentacles, the Magician, 4 of Swords, Judgment, and the Hermit. Okay, group 3, seems like there's a lot going on. Okay, there's a lot of things going on for you right now. So you might be in like a little bit more chaotic time in your life. There might be like a lot of things happening. There might be like a lot of things asking for your energy or pulling your energy in certain ways. And so if that's you, then this card definitely makes sense for you to lighten up, to play, to have some time to relax, and not just like, scroll your phone relaxing, like, or mindless relaxing, right? Actual relaxing, actual playfulness, laughter, joy, trying to find something funny in day-to-day life. So this play energy here is really important, because I feel, this Chariot, we're doing some forward motion here, baby. Okay, and same thing with this Knight of Pentacles. So these are both about like things moving forward, things changing. So maybe you've come out of a place where things felt like really stagnant for a while, or it was like, oh, this cycle again, or what's going on? Why do I have to go through this? Why does this have to feel like this? Why does, whatever. But the Chariot and the Knight of Pentacles is about forward motion. It's about things changing. It's about things happening. Again, just moving forward in this way that's like a little more clear than we thought, or maybe you were waiting for a while for things to happen. So while things are happening, can you be playful? Can you be lighthearted? Can you let these things like unfold in a very beautiful, fun, joyous, free way? Okay, so the Chariot and the Knight of Pentacles again is about moving forward. It's about momentum. It's about new things happening, new things working out for you, new paths opening, all of that. So the Chariot and Knight of Pentacles, it's just a reminder that progress is progress, even if it's very, very, very slow, and even if it's not like, the way we want, the timing we want, with who we want, right? Okay, even if it's not our specific details, progress is still progress, my guy. Okay, so give yourself some grace and some care and some compassion there with that. Because what I'm seeing here, just looking at these cards and getting a million messages. Okay, so the Magician here is about, remember who you are. Remember your power. Remember you have a choice, right? You might not have a choice of what the circumstances of your life are, but you do have a choice of who you are in those circumstances. You do have a choice of how you show up in those circumstances. You do have a choice of what are you going to do with those circumstances, right? So this is a reminder that even if you wouldn't have picked the life that is your life right now, or you wouldn't pick the scenario that you have right now or anything like that, right? The Magician is a reminder that we sometimes, because we can get so lost in like, oh, well, I don't want this thing, so everything in my life sucks, or I didn't want it to be like this, so everything's horrible, or I didn't want it to be like this, so, whatever, right? But the Magician here is a reminder that things can change and things do change, and a lot of times that starts with us, right? If physical reality not changing is a lot of times just something that happens so that we can turn inward and be like, oh, it's time for me to change. It's time for me to be different, right? If all this stuff out here isn't changing, if this person isn't changing, if the situation isn't changing, that means I need to be different, right? Well, it would be so much easier if this and this and this changed. It would, but that's not life, that's not how life goes. And so we have to, and I say that very lovingly, of course, right? But we have to remember that when things don't change, eventually we have to get clear within ourselves and be like, okay, this is a sign for me to change, because all these things that would make my life easier if they changed are not going to change. So what can I do for myself with that? So the Magician is remember who you are, remember your power. And again, with this full moon, maybe if you've been telling yourself a story around like, well, I'm powerless because of this, this, and this can be a reminder of, you can get to the other side. And you can, a lot of times things change once we start changing ourselves. And so it starts with us. It starts with going inward, doing that internal work, that internal journey, and just being willing to look at ourselves and our role in something. It doesn't mean we were responsible for it. It doesn't mean like it's our fault or anything like that. But if these situations are what they are and we are here where we are, what are we going to do with that? There's so many things in life we don't choose for ourselves, but it's still up to us to make something with what we've been given. And again, part of that can be playful energy, can be lightness, can be, even lightening up with yourself. Can I be kind to myself? Can I help myself laugh during the day, even though I'm going through a really hard time, or this certain thing feels impossible, or, whatever else the story is. And you got to rest. Okay. Okay. Group 3, we have to rest, sometimes, especially when things aren't going our way. That's when we can be like, well, I'm going to control something else even more. I'm going to focus on the stuff outside of me even more. I'm going to, force this thing to become this thing even more. When it's like, the more we want to control something, that's actually a sign for us to let it go, right? The more we want to be like, no, this has to be my exact way. Like I said, if it's something we have no business controlling, that's when it's time for us to really let go and like surrender in prayer, right? You see on this card, the prayer hands are up. So this is a reminder that, it's let go and let God, and just, and that's not, surrendering is not giving up. It's not being powerless. It's not anything like that. It's just a reminder we're not in control. God is. And so can I let this thing go? Can I release it? Can I do all of that? And can I just focus my energy back on myself? Can I put my energy back on myself instead of this thing outside of me I'm trying to control that, again, I can't actually control. It's just an illusion. So again, this Four of Swords, a reminder to just, not just, but easier said than done. Okay, just tune inward, check in with yourself and say, okay, what can I do here that is compassionate to myself, is kind to myself, helps me turn inward and put my energy back on myself, right? There's so many things that if we're, we don't like how they're going, so we try to control them even more. But letting go and letting God, turning inward, setting some boundaries, the sword suit is about boundaries, all of that, and releasing it and letting it go. And part of what can help you decide that is this Judgment card. So we have the Judgment and the Hermit, and you also had the Magician and the Chariot in your reading group 3. So again, if you got some big energy going on, I feel it. It's very clear. But so Judgment and Hermit, I feel like if you're not sure what to do in a situation, or you're like, well, what can I do? What's my guidance? What's going on? This is a reminder that, when the day of judgment comes, whether you believe in that or not, right? So it could just be like at the end of your life, or at the end of a situation, in 1 year's time, in 5 years' time. How do you want to say you show up? How do you want to say you show up for yourself? How do you want to say you contributed to yourself? How do you want to say that you were participating in your own life, in your own support for yourself, in your own all of this, right? So what when we think about that, right, like that can help us make a decision sometimes. Like, what would me in the future be proud that I say I did? What would me in the future, how would I respect myself? What would that look like? And what do I need to do what do I need to do now so I'll feel like I respected myself once the situation passes? So this Judgment is about, keeping your own clean conscience and respecting ourselves. Sometimes people say, well, what would I do if I love myself? And okay, a lot of us, no offense, have very messed up understandings of love, and we're still trying to unlearn them, right? And so if that's true, then sometimes for me, what's helpful and what I suggest to other people is, what would I do if I really respected myself? What would I do if I was coming from a place of like being accountable for myself and other people? What was I doing? What would I do if I was really like showing up in a way that is, like I would be proud to say I acted in these ways. So looking at that, and then again, really tuning inward for this. I feel like group 3, the more chaotic things get outside of us, that's a clue for us to go inward more. That's a clue. This doesn't mean you have to isolate yourself or not connect with people or whatever. But the Hermit is just a reminder to tune inward and to really find that peace and that stillness inside of us, right? This star, this inner guidance, just the ability to be like, okay, this is what I'm going through. What does that mean for me? What am I going to believe about myself with that? What am I going to connect to myself about that with? So again, this Hermit energy doesn't mean that you like totally cut off everyone from your life and you go live in a mountain and if you want to do that, God bless, go ahead. Okay. But this is a reminder that it's okay for you to, turn inward and do some soul searching. And it's not just something that happens once, right? It's like this part of, if you believe we are here for the spiritual growth on the soul level, this is something we do over and over again in our lives. And so this Hermit energy can be a reminder that like, have I checked in with myself lately? Have I tuned in? Have I listened to my own heart? Have I heard what I need to say to myself? Have I, done all of those things? And so again, connecting that energy and just really honoring that and holding space for yourself with that is going to be really important. Okay, I'm going to look at your oracle cards now. Okay, so this is just what I was talking about, speak with love. I feel like this is obviously, of course, to other people, but of course to yourself. So sometimes, people say like, well, what did I say wrong? What did I say? And it's like, so many times it's like the tone of what you said or what was implied by what you said or, whatever. So speak with love can be a reminder that, especially to ourselves, like, and this is what I was talking about with the Hermit, when we go inward, when we speak gently to ourselves, when we connect to that part of ourselves, when we get clear about like, can I speak with love? Can I get aware? Can I do all this, right? Those things add up and they help us feel connected to ourselves. So speak with love is a reminder that, how you're saying is just as important as what you're saying. And, speak with love it really can go a long way. And this, again, it's a pattern we develop within ourselves. And even if it feels like you're not doing it, it does add up. These things change, these things happen. So speak with love, again, can be there for you. And then we have, I'm ready to go big, rise up and step into my power. So again, I feel like this is really that magician energy we were talking about here of, when life, okay, how do I want to say this? We're not romanticizing unideal parts of life, but when they do happen, it's up to us who we become from them. Okay. And that does not mean that we're like, yeah, give me all the adversity and hardship in the world, right? Okay. We want to create as much ease for ourselves as possible because it is guaranteed that there is hardship in life no matter what. So I'm ready to go big, rise up, and step into my power is a reminder that you can trust yourself, you can grow and expand and change, and do things at this next layer with this. And it doesn't mean that, you doesn't mean you doubt yourself, doesn't mean you're like a jerk to other people, it doesn't mean, whatever. It just means you're ready to go into that next layer for yourself. And then last oracle card we have for you is expect a miracle. So again, I feel like this image of like, the moon in the bottle here, this could be like, it's reminding me of like message in a bottle. You just, they throw the bottle into the ocean and who knows where it's going to end up. So this is a reminder that you have no idea where life is going to take you, what's going to happen. But again, we don't have a choice of our circumstances a lot of times, but we do have a choice of who we are, how we show up, what's going on with those things within ourselves. So expect a miracle is a reminder that, it is up to us to do our part. And when we just are so willing to do our part, and again, have like a light heart, have some playfulness, be willing to go inward, have a clean conscience, be accountable for ourselves, right? When we do our part, God is then free to do God's part, and all these things kind of like unfold and come together for us. And so expect a miracle is a reminder that, we have no idea what things are going to be brought to us if we just start walking on the path. So if we just are willing to do our own little part, if we're willing to just say, okay, here's my circumstances, what's one thing I can do with this? What's one place I have agency? What's one place I can look at myself, right? Then it's going to be important for us to move forward in that way, and expecting a miracle, it's not just like, okay, this says expect a miracle, not expect your miracle. So I just want to be clear here also that, if you don't get the miracle in the exact package, timing, circumstance, whatever, that doesn't mean that there aren't miracles happening for you. It just means sometimes, luckily God is in charge and not us. And, we have no idea how the miracle is going to show up or what it's going to look like and all that. And so staying open is actually what allows the miracles to come to us, because we're not just super focused on it has to be this one in this way in this thing. Okay, so expect a miracle. Keep your heart open to something different than possibly what you thought, versus, well, it's this or nothing, right? Okay, I'm going to close with one affirmation card for you guys. Group 3. I'm creative. Okay, so again, I feel like this is, of course, about like more art, creative things, right? So if you are a drawer, an artist, a painter, a singer, musician, a writer, anything like that, this is your sign to do some creative stuff that's going to help you process and get through this time. But this is also saying you are creative enough to navigate the challenge of your life. You're creative enough to get through these circumstances. You're creative enough to say that, okay, this is where I was placed and I don't really like it, but I'm creative enough to figure out what to do in this situation. I'm creative enough to add some playfulness and lightheartedness to my life in like a new way. I'm creative enough to work through this or move through this in a way that, I never thought it would be possible. Creativity is a way of thinking in the mind also. And so being open to something different or a creative plan that maybe you didn't think you would be is also a sign of creativity. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.